Hey guys, Joe here. Thanks for joining me today. I've got a replay of a match against Jund. It's pretty interesting looking at the opening hand for the opponent here. 4 lands. They do want to hit their land drops, but they also on turn 1 want hand disruption, and of course they want removal all the time. And the only removal they have here is a 3-drop. Seems like a borderline hand. Let's see if the opponent kept or not. They did win the die roll, so they'll be on the play. Being on the draw, for me, this is a hand that I might keep from time to time. I think I kept it in this particular match. I'm going to have 2 draw steps before having an opportunity to play this Spreading Seas. And assuming I do get to play it, I get an extra draw. Being on the draw, I always feel a little more comfortable keeping these sort of sketchy hands. If I do hit some lands, the hand just gets a little bit crazy. So I think this was a keep for me, being on the draw. Let's see if the opponent kept his. He looked like he mulliganed, and actually a pretty poor mulligan. And at that point he decided to keep, and it looks like he liked what he saw on the top of his hand. He's going to open up with this Thoughtseize and probably take my Spreading Seas to prevent me from drawing into more cards and to protect his mana. So he does. He goes ahead and gets rid of that Spreading Seas. I'm going to keep the hand open over here as I usually do. Let you guys see what my opponent has information about. So he's seen this island and he's seen the Cursecatcher. He took the Spreading Seas, and at this point he doesn't know that I hit land on my first draw, which is pretty fortunate for me. Let's see. So the opponent put something on the bottom, I think, or no, I think that he liked the Terminate and kept it on top. Places tapped Raging Ravine. Doesn't think he'll have to use this Terminate on this turn, I guess. So I drew another Island Walk Lord. You can see how these hands can sort of spiral out of control, as long as I've got my lands to cast my spells. I attack with the Cursecatcher here. I paused for quite a while after my draw, making the opponent think I was a little bit frustrated as if I didn't hit that second land. Swung with the Cursecatcher. If he had a bolt, I wonder if he would have spent it on the Cursecatcher, thinking that I might be stuck on one land. So attack with the Cursecatcher before playing the Lord, before playing even the island, again to sort of represent that I didn't have a second land. Cost me a point of damage in this case, but if I could have gotten him to kill a Cursecatcher and save a Lord, that would have been great. So here I'm going to show him my hand again, and opponent with complete information again. He's going to get rid of the Master of the Pearl Trident, and at this point I'm aware of the possibility of a Maelstrom Pulse. He did think enough to get rid of the different Lord. So I drew a Spreading Seas for the turn, and since I'm still trying to hit lands here, if we're in a spot where we've either got too many lands or too many creatures, we typically want to draw cards as quickly as possible to sort of balance out the situation. So I think I might have went with Spreading Seas here. Not entirely sure. Okay, opponent tries to go for the Lord, but I've got Cursecatcher, so I'm going to go ahead and sacrifice the Cursecatcher, deal with that. Play the Spreading Seas, and I'm going to target his only green source here. It can be wise to take the opponent, a Jund opponent, off of double black to prevent him from getting Liliana onto the board. We see he would have had difficulty re-establishing black in this particular game. As it was, he had an extra green source, but I did, in any event, turn off his man land and take him off of a red and green source. So, pretty good. I drew a Harbinger, which is a welcome piece of interaction in the Jund matchup. Opponent drew a Scavenging Ooze, and he's going to go ahead and probably play that guy this turn. So for my turn, I hit an AEther Vial. I've got Island Walk online here, so if I play another Lord, I'll be able to attack. But playing AEther Vial here might be wise because my hand is pretty jammed up with creatures, and I'm going to want to be able to get those guys out sooner or later. I did opt to go with the Lord and just push damage. Seems smart to me because the opponent is stuck on one card. So he does know that I have a third Lord of Atlantis in my hand. So we see Kalidas here. And rather than 2-for-1 me with the Maelstrom Pulse, I guess knowing that I have the third one in hand, he's sitting back on it. As I mentioned earlier, I was aware of the possibility of Maelstrom Pulse, especially since he has the particular mana he needs to cast it online with black and green. I'm being extra careful. So this turn, I think, was the turn where I ran AEther Vial out to open up my sort of mana situation a little bit. Still having Spreading Seas online, I can just swing for 6 this turn, putting him on a 2-turn clock or thereabouts, because Kalitas has a bit of lifelink. Might set me back a turn or two. So swing for 6, play out the AEther Vial, and at this point, if the opponent wants to spend a Maelstrom Pulse, I've got plenty of cards left in hand. So swinging for 3 and 2, 3 lifelink. I go down to 15, the opponent goes back up to 9, and we see the Maelstrom Pulse here. So there's green, black, and okay. And the opponent gets 2 zombies off of Kalitas, and my lords are exiled. AEther Vial goes up to 1. Even if I don't draw lands at this point, AEther Vial is sort of like virtual lands ticking up for me each turn. So here I'm going to play Harbinger, bounce Kalitas. Online, one of the biggest conversations I think we've been seeing for the last half year or so has been, how many Harbinger of the Tides should we run in the main deck? How many Tidebinder Mages should we run in the main deck? I think anybody who doesn't run a full play set of Harbingers in the main deck doesn't really understand either how this guy works or how Modern works. There's so many creatures, even in combo decks in Modern, that Harbinger of the Tides is almost always great value. Sure, I mean, sometimes he does come out as a 2/2 bear, but he always has 2 blue Devotion for Master of Waves. And yeah, he just bounced the opponent's 4-drop, gets rid of the lifelink for a little while, and I've started to establish a board. And since I have Island Walk already, I can start pushing for damage with that guy next turn. So we're just going to see Kalitas come out here again. The opponent's just going to push damage. That's fine. I'm definitely not going to trade off the Harbinger for any of that garbage. I go from 15, I think, down to 9. AEther Vial up on 2. I'm happy I played that a little while ago. So at this point, I've got AEther Vial on 2, and I just drew into Echoing Truth. I think I'm going to probably try to keep Kalitas off the board because that lifelink is the only thing the opponent's got going for him right now. Yeah, he does have 1 green. He can eat something with Scavenging Ooze to go up a little bit. But I'm going to begin pushing a lot more damage probably than the opponent can handle soon. AEther Vial will go up to 3 and then 4, and I'll have plenty of creatures to attack with. So the Lord comes in with AEther Vial. Island Walk lets me swing the opponent down to 6. Draws a Thoughtseize, swings with everybody, and as I mentioned, I think I'm going to bounce the Kalitas here. Prevent the lifelink. Actually, I tell him no blocks first. Sometimes we can get the opponent to sacrifice a zombie to make Kalitas bigger and gain more life. If that's the only thing they have to do with their mana, like imagine the opponent had 3 lands in hand. This ability is actually pretty cool. Makes sacrifice a zombie, and then this guy becomes a 5/6. So he would be gaining 5 life a turn instead of just 3. Pretty good in a race against an aggro deck like Merfolk. So I told him no blocks, hoping that he was going to sack a zombie and I can get extra value from bouncing the Kalitas. But after I say no blocks, I think he just eats something with Scavenging Ooze, and then passes to damage, and before damage I'm going to bounce the Kalitas, and that guy will go back to his hand, and without gaining any life, this turn the opponent will stay at 7, and I will take 7, going down to 2. Second main phase, the opponent is going to Thoughtseize me. It's going to take away the Reejerey because I think that guy would be lethal next turn. So he takes him away, and currently I've got 3 Island Walk coming through. The opponent's got a pretty decent board. He knows I have these Master of Waves, but I'm at least 2 turns away from getting them onto the table, assuming that I take AEther Vial up and or draw running lands. So the opponent looking pretty decent here. He tries to run a Tarmogoyf out, but I think he realizes he doesn't have the mana for that. Maybe feeling a little bit silly. Instead he takes it back and puts Dark Confidant out, which seems really rash because I hit him down to 3 if I don't draw anything else. And I'm sorry, I hit him for 3 and he goes down to 2. And then I guess he can eat something with Scavenging Ooze going back up to 3, reducing the number of possible top decks that could kill him with Dark Confidant, but still seems unnecessarily risky in this spot, in my view. So I'm going to tick AEther Vial up here just because that increases my options. Like, say that I draw a Merrow Reejerey, then I have better attacks. Let's see, if I drew a Reejerey, I'd be swinging for 4 Island Walk, and this guy's a 3/3. He could chump with Dark Confidant, wouldn't quite get there. So it seems like actually the only thing that I could... Actually, swinging for 3 with Island Walk, sorry, for 4 with Island Walk, puts him down to 1, he goes up to 2, and then there's a lot more live top decks to kill him. So hitting a Reejerey would be pretty good as well. So tick the AEther Vial up to 3, especially since I have these Masters of Waves. However, I just top deck another Island Walk Lord, and now both of these guys can swing, and yeah, that'll be it. So, I think the opponent might have had some stuff to say after that match. Let's fast forward. Lucky draw, blah, 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 blah. Okay. So, let's go to game 2, see how that went. Opening hands. The opponent's going to be on the play here. He's got plenty of removal. Anger of the Gods, Damnation, some great mana fixing with these 2 fetch lands. Kalitas as a threat, he's going to need to draw some more lands. And double Inquisition. Looks like a pretty nice Jund hand. Obviously, I have to mulligan, but this is definitely a keep. Turn 1 Relic against Jund is fantastic. Turn 2 Spreading Seas would be excellent, except we see he's got these double Inquisitions, so probably not going to get to resolve that, at least not early on in the game. So it's a keep, as I mentioned. I think that I scryed something away. Yeah, it was a Master of Waves. So Master of Waves can go to the bottom right now. Don't have enough lands for that. Alright, as usual, you guys can check out my sideboarding for each match in the description of the video. The opponent is going to take the Seas, and these are the cards that he has knowledge about. So I hit my second land. That's very nice. I'll run out the island first. That gives me the options of playing out these double blue if I hit another island next turn. Opponent drew an Abrupt Decay. Seems like this would have been a decent time to just get rid of that relic. I guess he's saving this for creatures, but he saw my hand. He knows that I was only on 1 land. Yeah, I probably would have Abrupt Decayed the relic there. This thing can draw me a card, and it can keep him off of Scavenging Ooze and Tarmogoyf value. Also off of Kolaghan's command value for recurring a creature. But he went with Inquisition again. He's going to take the Lord, I think, which I'm not sure if is correct or not. Tidebinder Mage can set Jund back a whole lot. You guys might have seen this in previous matches that I played against Jund, or any match really where I get Relic on the board. During my upkeep, I tend to activate its first ability, just so that I don't forget it. You want to use it once per turn cycle, and it gives the opponent the choice, so it doesn't really matter when you activate it if there's more than 1 card in the graveyard. You just want to make sure that you do. So I do it during the upkeep. Vapor Snag is a nice piece of interaction. I'll play the Mutavault and just pass, leaving up mana to pop the Relic if necessary, though I don't think that that's going to happen for a while. Relic allows us to grind quite a lot against Jund. Lets us take away a ton of the value that they try to get out of the graveyard. So again, during the upkeep, I'm going to activate the Relic. He'll just move one of his fetch lands to exile. Looks like we kind of stalled out a little bit here. I don't have double blue. The opponent is stuck at 2 lands, and it looks like he doesn't want to force the sack on the Relic with Abrupt Decay. So we're just going to pass here, I guess, for a little while. Okay, so the opponent, let's see. Looks like he drew Tarmogoyf and played it. Now I have the choice of Vapor Snagging it, but with this Relic emptying his graveyard, this Tarmogoyf is going to be pretty small. I want to save the Vapor Snag for something like Kalitas, and I've got Tidebinders and Harbingers that can deal with Tarmogoyf if he becomes a problem. So let's keep our cards in hand, not wasted on the Tarmogoyf right now. So again, upkeep, activate the Relic. Tarmogoyf I think is a 2. Let's see, he knows about that Mutavault already, so now he just has information with these Tidebinder Mages. So my opponent, very clever, assumes I'm going to play out the Tidebinder Mage, and assumes correctly. draws a Scavenging Ooze. That's another thing that he could play. He could also choose to Abrupt Decay the Tidebinder Mage, I guess. So I activated the Relic on myself, getting rid of a creature so that Scavenging Ooze, should he appear, has less to eat. You know, we don't do anything with our graveyard, so might as well keep that thing empty. Although another option, of course, would have been just to keep it up to activate on his turn if he plays something, or at the end of my turn, say he plays an Abrupt Decay, now he can keep his graveyard empty. But getting rid of the creature to keep Scavenging Ooze hungry longer seemed like a good option to me there. And also it just makes this Tarmogoyf tiny again. Just a 1/2 right now. So I drew a Master of the Waves. That guy's going to be good if I draw a land. Swinging with 2, the opponent, I'm not sure exactly what he's got going on up in his head. He's got Abrupt Decay and Lightning Bolt. This guy is holding down his Tarmogoyf. Not exactly sure why he's not using these right now. I guess we'll see them later in the game. So took the damage, and then I guess was hoping maybe that I'd play a Lord. So he's going to Lightning Bolt the Tidebinder, end step. So I was thinking if I wanted to Vapor Snag my Tidebinder. But again, the Vapor Snag could be pretty high value against something like Kalitas. So in the end, I decided just to keep the Vapor Snag in my hand. Okay, opponent drew a Raging Ravine, is going to swing with the 3/4 Tarmogoyf. I'm going to hold off on popping that Relic. Again, we want to get as much value as we can out of it. So upkeep, I'm going to make him exile that Lightning Bolt. Drew an island, quite nice. But I'm just going to go ahead and bounce this guy with a Harbinger of the Tides. Play an island, keep up mana for Vapor Snag, and mana to activate the Relic if that seems necessary. Okay, opponent plays out the Tarmogoyf again, and we can see he doesn't have mana up for anything in his hand right now. So what's going to happen here? Vapor Snag the Tarmogoyf on my end step to make use of the mana. Opponent goes down to 13, and we've got him pretty jammed up. We've got the Relic on board. Things are looking okay right now. So I'm going to exile something from my graveyard on my upkeep while I'm thinking about it. Drew another island, not optimal. I'll swing for 2 with the Harbinger. And I think it's pretty clear we follow up with the Master of Waves here. Play the island, leaving up mana to crack the Relic if necessary. Opponent drew a fast land, but he gets to play his Anger of the Gods now. That'll leave the Master on the board. One of our most resilient creatures with his protection from red. Activate the Relic, make him exile his Anger of the Gods. Drew another island, not that great. So we're going to activate the Mutavault and swing for 5 here. The opponent does have all of his mana online now. He's going to get to start playing creatures and removing my threats as he sees necessary. Going to keep the Tidebinder in hand to tap something like a Tarmogoyf. The opponent still knows that we have one in hand. So here's Kalitas, and again, that's where something like a Vapor Snag would come in quite handy. Oh, we drew a Harbinger of the Tides, and we've got 4 mana up, so we can get that guy on the table at instant speed to bounce Kalitas on the opponent's turn. I choose just to pass. We don't have Island Walk, and Kalitas has lifelink and is bigger than our guys right now, so no good attacks. Opponent cracks, Verdant Catacombs goes down to 5. And he's got tons of stuff in his hand right now. So he's swinging now with the 3/4. We've got Harbinger of the Tides in hand. I'll go ahead and bounce this guy. But let's see. In response to the enters the battlefield trigger, the opponent Lightning Bolts Harbinger before Kalitas gets bounced so that he gets a zombie before Kalitas goes away. Pretty heads-up play, I'd say. Taps all of his lands, plays Kalitas again right away. So, going to exile the Relic now to draw a card. I need a little bit of action. Hit another Harbinger. It's decent. For my turn, I hit a Merrow Reejerey. So, not sure if I played this 100% correctly here, but I think the line I chose was Merrow Reejerey, and then Harbinger tap the Kalitas and bounce him. Might have been correct just to leave, because playing Reejerey right now, after I played him, I realized I might have made a mistake. Because Master of Waves is just a 3-2. Let's see, I don't have mana now to activate Mutavault. He'd be a 4-4 and can attack through the zombie, or at least make the opponent jump with the zombie. But if I just left mana up for Harbinger, the opponent on his turn probably would have just played out his creatures, and I could have bounced Harbinger when Kalitas tried to attack, and then on my turn maybe play out the Reejerey with Harbinger on the board as an attacker. Tidebinder to lock down one of these green creatures should he get played next turn. But as it was, I played it out this way. Gonna bounce that guy out of there, and looks like the opponent has the green light to just cast Damnation here. Now, I chose to... this attack with the zombie, I mean, if it was a control deck, not a mid-range deck, and it was like a Snapcaster attacking like this, I would read that as sort of the prelude to board wipe, and would have at least tried to block with the Harbinger, since he's a 3-3 right now because of Reejerey. Sure, he can get bolted, and then the Harbinger would trade with the zombie, which isn't great value. But I took the 2, and of course, here comes the Damnation. So everybody goes away except for the Mutavault. Drew into an Island Walk Lord, which is quite nice. Go ahead and play that guy out and swing for 3. Opponent goes down to 2, draws a land. Plays out Kalitas again. I hit a Silvergill Adept, another pretty nice draw. I'll reveal the Tidebinder Mage, but I only hit another island. No Island Walk online. Only have the Lord and a Mutavault as an attacker. Kalitas has lifelink, so if I swung with the Mutavault, he could block. He could, you know, the opponent has Abrupt Decay mana up. He has Terminate mana up. No good attacks right now. We really just want to see a Spreading Seas at this point, I think. So the Lord gets terminated. And what are we going to see here? We see Abrupt Decay, another zombie, and this is how Kalitas can take games over. He's going to swing for 3. He's going to gain some life. I'm going to lose some life. Opponent plays out 2 Scavenging Oozes. It looks like I drew another land for the turn. Tidebinder's not doing a whole lot here. Tap down one of the Scavenging Oozes. But at this point, against a mid-range deck, we have very few outs. I mean, Master of Waves would be decent. Alright, so the opponent actually managed to eke that one out. Unfortunate. I probably should have saved that Vapor Snag for Kalitas, as I was mentioning the whole game. I opted instead to bounce a Tarmogoyf and push a little damage earlier. This 7 looks great. I love seeing Spreading Seas, 3 lands. You know, we want to make sure that we're able to cast our spells. As we saw that game, Relic can keep their graveyard trim the whole game, and Echoing Truth just interacts. So, decent hand. The opponent mulliganed, and then kept. He's going to scry. We see he brought a Knight of Souls Betrayal, which just seems weak to me. I mean, against Merfolk, our creatures just get bigger and bigger. So -1/-1 doesn't do a lot. Typically, you see this card against Elves. You see it against Infect. Not so great against Merfolk, though. Opponent looks like he put Tarmogoyf from the top of his library onto the bottom of his library. It seems questionable to me. It's an early threat. Not sure why he would scry that away. I guess he's looking for lands here. Maybe he really wants to get the Knight of Souls Betrayal on the battlefield. So I'm on the play this time. I played an island and a relic and passed to the opponent. Plays his land. Not quite sure what he drew for the turn. And here's Thoughtseize. Or Inquisition, I guess. So the opponent is going to take Spreading Seas, I'm sure. Alright, already at 17. I like it when the opponent deals damage to themselves. Relic of Progenitus will get rid of Inquisition. Drew a 4th land, not great. Gonna play a Lord of Atlantis, just get a creature on the board, start attacking. Opponent drew a Blackcleave Cliffs, but he's gonna bolt the Lord here. Upkeep, I will get rid of that with the Relic. Drew a Reej, play our 3rd land, and cast that guy. I played out the Cavern here instead of this island that I drew, just in case he plays Choke. These islands would be stuck, and at least I'd have Cavern of Souls untapped. See, he drew a Maelstrom Pulse. He has mana to cast that if he wants to. Not that much value, but it's 1-for-1 removal. I guess that's what Jund wants to do. Upkeep, I can get rid of the Maelstrom Pulse. Drew another Lord. That's nice. I can play that and keep mana up for Relic or Echoing Truth. Alright, here's a Thoughtseize. I'm just going to throw the Echoing Truth in the bin. Nothing for me to bounce. Opponent cracks a Verdant Catacombs, plays a Scavenging Ooze, and then eats one of the creatures from my graveyard. At this point, he knows everything that was in my hand. I'm left with an empty hand here. You can see the opponent has a pretty weak card left. In response to eating a creature, I decide it's probably time to cycle this Relic. I'd rather not be on 0 cards in hand. So Relic goes away, Scavenging Ooze doesn't get to eat anything, and I hit a very welcome Spreading Seas. That's gonna go out this turn. I think it'll give me the possibility of hitting a fifth land, so that I can play Spreading Seas and Merrow Reejerey in one turn. This is gonna go on the man land. With the opponent also on a nearly empty hand, we want to just keep him off of as many threats as possible. And with empty graveyards and a Scavenging Ooze on the board, we're looking pretty good here. Alright, opponent drew a Huntmaster. Pretty solid draw. At this point in the game, 4 drops are exactly what the doctor ordered. Huntmaster, when he enters, he gains 2 life and gets a 2/2 wolf. The more threatening side of this card is the other one. Whenever it flips and turns into the werewolf, it deals 2 damage to me, but more importantly, it deals 2 damage to a creature of mine as well. So I'm gonna want to get my guys out of range of Huntmaster zapping them. So Scavenging Ooze is going to attack here. Takes me down 2. And I drew a Tidebinder, which is an interesting draw. Because we could tap down the Huntmaster, but unfortunately, if the opponent passes the turn without casting anything, if I don't, even if this guy is tapped, he still triggers on the werewolf side and will still zap my Lord. So pretty much have to play Merrow Reejerey out here to protect the board. So there he is. No attacks yet. Don't have Island Walk. Don't want to get double blocked. Looks like the opponent drew a Raging Ravine, which is nice and slow. Exactly what I'd like to see. Having played another Lord, I think the opponent would rather play Knight of Souls Betrayal rather than passing without casting anything to flip the Huntmaster. Flipping the Huntmaster at this point, since my creatures are 3/3s, doesn't really do anything. However, Knight of Souls Betrayal, I guess we can see potential use for it here. These guys with this on the board will go back to being 2/2s, and then Huntmaster can in fact kill one of them. Fortunately for me, I have another Lord in hand. So we drew yet another Lord, and so Reejerey can go bananas here. With the opponent on an empty hand, I'm not afraid of their Singleton, Damnation, or their couple of Anger of the Gods. So I'm going to go ahead and run out the second Lord here, second Island Walk Lord. And with Island Walk online, it doesn't really matter if I tap any of his guys down. I think I decide to untap the lands, but I'm going to keep the Tidebinder in hand just in case the opponent top decks something, because I've got Overkill anyway with Island Walk the following turn. Swinging here for 8. These guys are 5/5s, but they're getting -1/-1, so they're swinging not for 10, but for 8. Have to remind the opponent about his math, and he drew a land, so that's it. We got there against Jund. Always feels good beating Jund. They play the best cards in those 3 colors, and we just play silly blue 2/2s, and yeah, we managed to get there. So please, as always, share any comments you might have. Let me know if you have any questions. Subscribe, please, if you haven't already. I appreciate that stuff, and I'll catch you later. Thanks a lot.